I never thought a single phone call could make my chest tighten like this. I'm standing by the floor-to-ceiling window of my apartment in downtown Chicago, the city lights stretching like a river of stars beneath me, and my fingers are still trembling from the buzz of my phone. Silk brushes my arm as I smooth down the blouse I chose for tonight's meeting, soft, understated, just like I always aim to appear. Nobody can guess, not really, what I've endured, what I've carried all these years beneath the calm. And yet here it is, a message from a number I recognize immediately, my sister's. The words sting before I even read them. You should come. Dad wants to see you. 88 people at that dinner, all of them staring. And there she was, clapping, cheering as if it was a performance, as if my pain was entertainment. I take a breath, feeling the faint aroma of my coffee mingling with the cold glass of the window pane, trying to steady my heartbeat. The irony isn't lost on me. I built this life quietly, meticulously, while they all assumed I was floundering somewhere, small and powerless. But this call doesn't have to be the end. It's the spark, the trigger. And I know, deep down, the truth that they could never have imagined, just how much control I've gained, silently, over the very world they thought they could humiliate me in. Tonight, everything could change. I can still feel that night like it happened yesterday. The air was thick with the scent of expensive perfume and cheap arrogance. The banquet hall glittered under crystal chandeliers, but none of that mattered. I was invisible in my own humiliation. Dad's hand came down like a hammer across my cheek, the sharp sting leaving me momentarily breathless. 88 eyes burned into me, and in the middle of it all, my sister clapped. She laughed, as if the scene were a twisted performance she was enjoying. My knees nearly buckled, my hands trembling as I gripped the edge of the table. I could feel the lump in my throat, that heavy weight that comes from knowing the people who are supposed to love you are cheering for your suffering. I wanted to vanish into the polished wooden floor, to disappear completely, but I couldn't. Not yet. Then I felt the little piece of warmth that kept me alive, a hand on my shoulder, an older woman's voice whispering softly, "You're stronger than they'll ever understand, Lily. Don't let this break you. Let it fuel you." Grandma's words, simple but precise, sank deep. The small silver locket she pressed into my palm felt impossibly heavy, but it carried something more than weight. It carried hope, a tangible reminder that there was a life beyond their mockery, a path only I could choose. I remember stepping back from the chaos that night, my jaw tight, tears threatening but unspilled. I made a promise to myself, one that no one witnessed, no one applauded. I would not be the girl who cowered while others clapped at her pain. I would leave, carve out a life where my worth was not dictated by their laughter or my father's hand. And I would do it quietly, because there was power in patience, in invisibility, in building my own empire away from prying eyes. That night marked the beginning of everything. The first time I understood what it meant to survive, to plan, and most importantly, to rise without them even noticing. I tucked the locket close to my heart and whispered into the dark, "One day, they'll see." After that night, I left everything familiar behind. College dorms, cheap apartment studios, and nights where I barely slept became my sanctuary. I threw myself into work, any work that allowed me to learn, grow, and prove my worth to myself. My grandmother's locket never left my neck, a quiet reminder of strength and the promise I had made. I met Helen on a rainy afternoon in a small cafe downtown. She was sharp, seasoned, and intimidating, exactly the mentor I didn't know I needed. "You have fire," she said after I nervously pitched an idea for a digital design startup I barely had funding for. But fire without direction burns out quickly. Her words stung but inspired me. I worked for her, learning the ropes of entrepreneurship, the discipline of spreadsheets, pitches, and client negotiations. Every day was a battle against self-doubt and the memory of that banquet hall. Every small win felt monumental. My first client who actually paid on time, the first project that got praised publicly, the first freelance check that allowed me to live comfortably without guilt. It wasn't glamorous. I survived on instant noodles, long nights filled with endless editing and design iterations, and constant anxiety over whether I'd be good enough. But each struggle sharpened me, carved me into someone I barely recognized in the mirror. The same girl who once trembled under my father's hand now carried herself with quiet authority. And I kept it all hidden. I didn't post flashy updates or brag about achievements. I posted only what was necessary to maintain appearances. Family texts asking about jobs or promotions I barely responded to. They didn't need to know that the girl they had mocked, humiliated, and dismissed was now flourishing on a level they couldn't even imagine. The more they assumed I was struggling, the more quietly I built my empire. There were nights when I would stand in my modest studio apartment, running my fingers over the keyboard and thinking, one day, they'll see. Not a single word from me, but they'll feel it. It was a strange kind of revenge, not through shouting or confrontation, but through proving, silently, that I could thrive without them. The city became my playground, each project a stepping stone, every small success a whisper that said, I am not powerless. I discovered the power of subtlety, patience, and strategy. My life began to expand in ways I had only dreamed of. First came recognition from clients, then accolades in my field, and finally financial independence that I had never imagined. I built a quiet fortress of success around me, a life so removed from my past humiliation that the world outside, including my family, saw only the calm, composed version of me. But behind closed doors, I celebrated victories small and large, knowing that the girl who had once been slapped in front of 88 people was finally free. It wasn't planned as a spectacle. I didn't want tears or loud declarations of revenge. I wanted them to see, to truly understand before I spoke. When my sister's text arrived, insistent, almost mocking, I smiled faintly and agreed. Fine. I had typed, my fingers steady. I'll come. The venue was a private gallery in the heart of the city, filled with modern art and warm lighting. Every detail was intentional. The subtle aroma of jasmine and polished wood filled the air, mixing with a quiet hum of soft jazz. It was elegant, yes, but it was mine. It reflected the woman I had become, refined, accomplished, in full control. They arrived expecting a timid version of me, the one they had always known, the girl who shrank under their judgment, who flinched at disapproval. Instead, they found me standing tall, wearing a tailored suit that suggested confidence rather than intimidation. My hair was perfectly in place, but not styled to impress. It framed a face that had endured pain and now carried calm authority. My eyes met theirs unflinching as I extended a hand that had once trembled from fear. Dad's jaw tightened first. The muscle in his cheek twitched, a familiar reaction when pride met reality. My sister's smile faltered. The cheerleader of my humiliation suddenly looked unsure, almost vulnerable. I let the silence stretch. Every heartbeat, every breath, added weight. Let them absorb the truth before I spoke. I'm glad you came, I said finally, my voice soft but carrying an undeniable authority. I wanted you to see me, not the me you thought you knew, but the woman I've become. I gestured around the gallery, to the pieces I had curated, the clients' accolades on the walls, the personal touches that signaled not just taste but ownership. Everything here, I continued, every project, every partnership, every dollar I've earned, I've built quietly, without relying on your approval, your validation, or your applause. Dad's eyes flicked to the small plaque near the corner, my company name, my title, my net worth discreetly etched into the display. His lips parted, words failing him. My sister's fingers clenched at her side. Disbelief.
Shame.
Astonishment. I let them sit in it, let the moment linger. Then I dropped the quiet truth that had fueled every choice I had made for years. I'm not struggling. I'm thriving. And I've done it entirely on my own. They recoiled slightly, and I noticed the subtle shift in power. The realization that the girl they had mocked, dismissed, and humiliated was now untouchable. Not in vengeance, but in achievement. I did not need to raise my voice or yell. Their reaction said it all. Awe, regret, the heavy understanding that their assumptions about me were not only wrong, they were irrelevant. For the first time in years, I felt a profound sense of release. The air between us was charged, thick with tension and unspoken admissions. The world I had built quietly was now visible, undeniable. And for the first time, I understood fully. I had reclaimed not just my dignity, but my power. I let them sit in the room a little longer, letting the weight of the moment settle. Dad's shoulders slumped. My sister's eyes darted nervously across the gallery. I could almost hear the mental calculations spinning in their heads. How did she do this? How could we have been so wrong? Finally, I spoke again, my voice steady, warm but firm. I want to be clear, I said, letting each word carry gravity. I'm willing to help, but it comes with conditions. Things must change, or this ends here. I looked at my sister first. You cheered when I was humiliated, I said softly, yet sharply. You need to understand the impact of your actions. We can rebuild a relationship, but only if you let go of toxicity, if you support others instead of tearing them down, if you stop trying to feel superior at someone else's expense. You have potential beyond judgment. Show me that you can use it. Then I turned to Dad. You need to stop punishing with shame. You need to respect boundaries, not control outcomes. I cannot, will not, accept past behaviors as normal anymore. If you want to be part of my life, you must change the way you show authority and love. Control has never been love, it's fear. Learn the difference. I paused, letting my words sink in. For all of you, I continued, I will help you grow, not because I owe it to you, but because I understand what it means to rise from nothing. I can open doors, guide paths, even provide resources, but only if you are willing to take responsibility for your growth, your choices, and your future. My sister's shoulders trembled. Dad's mouth opened, then closed. No one spoke. I let them feel the weight of their own reflection in the mirror of my success. I've spent years building a life quietly, step by step, without recognition, without applause, I said. And I will not compromise the integrity of that life for old patterns. But I will help if the effort is genuine. Change must come first. Respect must follow. Support must be real. I could see the internal struggle in both of them, the tension between old habits and the possibility of something new. My words were firm, yet not cruel. Compassion blended with authority, reminding them that I had not just survived, I had learned, and I had chosen power, patience, and dignity over bitterness. When I finally stopped speaking, the room was silent, but different. Charged. Expectant. They knew now that they were no longer in control. That shift in energy, subtle yet undeniable, confirmed what I had always believed. True power does not come from punishment or fear. It comes from mastery over oneself and the courage to set boundaries. And in that moment I realized, the quiet call I had made all those years ago, the path I had carved in silence, had brought me to this exact point, the moment where past pain became future strength. Weeks passed after the confrontation, and the change was subtle at first, but undeniable. My sister began volunteering at local charities, taking interest in people she had previously ignored, even judging. Dad started asking questions, really listening instead of issuing commands. I watched them grow cautiously, aware that true transformation takes time, but quietly proud that the shift had begun. I, too, had changed. Standing in my office one evening, the locket from my grandmother resting against my chest, I reflected on the journey. The pain, the humiliation, the nights of uncertainty, they had all shaped me. Each struggle had been a stepping stone, each scar a reminder of resilience. I realized now that strength wasn't just about success or wealth. It was about owning your story, embracing it, and turning it into something beautiful. The symbolic locket, once a small reminder of hope, now felt like a bridge between past and present. It had traveled with me through fear and triumph, holding every whispered promise I made to myself. I traced the delicate engraving and smiled, feeling a warmth that was no longer fragile but fortified. I thought about that night in the banquet hall, the 88 people staring, the slap that could have shattered me. Instead, it had fueled me, shaped me, and led me here to a place of quiet authority, of independence, and of grace. My journey wasn't about vengeance. It was about self-realization. I had proven, first to myself and now to them, that no one else defines your worth. Looking out the window at the Chicago skyline, I felt a serene satisfaction. I had built not just a life, but a legacy of resilience and power, one that could not be diminished by past cruelty. I had given lessons in dignity without malice, in success without arrogance. And finally, I whispered to myself, a soft but unwavering voice in the quiet of my office. I am enough, I am unstoppable, and I am free. It was the culmination of years of struggle, the echo of my grandmother's wisdom, and the affirmation of the woman I had always been meant to become. In that single, quiet moment, I understood the full meaning of strength, independence, and grace. My story, once marred by humiliation, had transformed into a declaration of unshakable power.